I'm making this announcement, and it's being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Adequate notice of this meeting rescheduled from March 18, 2026 to March 16, 2026 by resolution number 26-91 has been provided by notice sent to the Star Ledger and the local source and is posted in the main lobby of the municipal building and on the municipal website. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied in regard to this meeting. Please stand for the salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Karlovich.
Here.
Councilman Boyle.
Here.
Councilman Finestrella.
Here.
Councilwoman Giordano Paserno.
Here.
Councilman Morrow.
Here.
Councilman Piper.
Here.
And Councilman Scurry.
Here.
Just make it time.
Can I have a motion to approve minutes of March 4, 2026? Second. Motion made by Councilman Piper, seconded by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno. Roll call?
Councilman Boyle.
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Giordano Paserno.
Yes.
Councilman Morrow.
Yes.
Councilman Piper.
Yes.
And Councilman Scurry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I'm going to move to the finance report. Councilman Morrow.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee met last Monday to begin our review of the 2026 municipal budget, and a few of the items on tonight's agenda stem from that meeting. Regarding those in the general agenda, we have Resolution 2694, which authorizes our CFO to complete the annual transfers for appropriation reserves. This is something that must be done within the first 3 months of every year. Next, Resolution 2695, important one here. This authorizes the borough to transition from the State Health Benefit Plan to the New Jersey Solutions Joint Health Insurance Fund, administered by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. We still have a few outstanding questions, and this authorization to the new plan will only move forward once we receive answers we are comfortable with to those questions. If those answers are not satisfactory, the borough retains the option to rescind the resolution at our next meeting, April 1st. So if implemented with a June 1 start date, the new plan, while maintaining equal or better coverage, is projected to save the borough at least $300,000 in the 2026 municipal budget. This is a big item here. That's why we're trying to move with haste. Resolution 2696 establishes a new position for the DPW funded entirely through the Clean Communities and Recycling Tonnage Grants, meaning there will be no impact to the local tax levy for this new position. Thank you, Greg. An announcement from our finance office. The Blue Books for property tax relief for seniors and certain disability recipients are now available. Residents can receive free filing assistance at the Cranford Regional Information Center, or they may contact the Borough Tax Office for assistance. Finally, we will continue working on the 2026 municipal budget. Important to note, the governor's recent budget address indicated that Kenilworth state aid is expected to remain at the $1.008 million level from last year, which is very encouraging given early concerns that the aid might be reduced. The CFO, Borough Administrator, Finance Committee, and department heads will continue to work together with the goal of introducing the 2026 municipal budget at our next meeting, April 1st. With a continued focus on efficiency, accountability, and protecting our taxpayers, the Finance Committee is at work. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Department of Public Works. Councilman Boyle.
Mayor. We collected and disposed of 204.5 tons of municipal solid waste for a total cost of $16,851. Collected and disposed of 24.5 tons of commingled recyclables for a total cost of $1,803. We purchased 151,280 pounds of road salt for a cost of $5,561. The Kenilworth DPW has been gathering information regarding the location of potholes throughout the community. As weather allows, we have been sending crews out to make pothole repairs. As weather allows, we have also been sending crews out to inspect and clear out storm basins for rainwater drainage. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Department of Public Safety. Councilman Finestrella.
Thank you, Mayor. I gave the monthly report at our previous meeting, and therefore I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Planning and Zoning. Councilman Scurry.
Thank you, Mayor. Total receipts for Month of February, $202,331.50. Mostly from building fees, $151,070. Trust state fees, $27,449. And next would be developers fees, $12,787. Trailer storage fees, $3,300. $5,500 for road opening fees. Also, let's go here. Three complaints. They were all snow related. Neighbors putting snow on, I guess, their neighbor's property. No regular zoning complaints. 4 CCO applications, but they were just for new signage and new business or sale of property. Fees for trailer, motor vehicle storage mules are coming in as well. We're very busy with inspections at 2,000 gallon Panel, also known as the old Merck site at Onyx now. With CoreWeave Onyx and the substation, inspections there every day, Monday to Friday, conducting requested inspections. They're working closely with all contractors and our team at Harbor Consultants to process all the permit updates expeditiously. 29 building construction permits issued in the month of February, 26 building construction permits paid in the month of February, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Councilman. Recreation and Fire, Councilman Piper.
Thank you, Mayor. The rec report was read at the first meeting. The fire report was read at the first meeting. We have a rec report tonight. And start out with the Union County VOTEC Robotics Team Program. The UCBT Robotics Team has partnered up with us as part of their outreach program to head 4 monthly robotics STEM sessions at the rec center. We have had 2 sessions so far, 16 participants each, which have been great. David De Silva and his team have been doing a fantastic job with kids. Each of the 4 sessions have been maxed out, and there is a waiting list for each of the sessions. Spring sports, both the middle school baseball and softball tryouts have been completed. Coaches are in place, the teams have been selected, games are set, and the practices will be starting within the next week. We have 14 players for our baseball team and 13 for the softball team. The middle school track meeting was held. Registrations have been underway. We currently have 24 participants. The coach is in place, track meets have been set, and practices will be starting within the next week, weather permitting. The Easter egg hunt. The egg hunt is scheduled for Sunday, March 29th, with a rain date of Saturday, April 4th. The registrations will remain open until early Sunday morning, the day of the hunt. Full details can be found on the borough website, Recreation Department/events, along with the link to register. And finally, summer camp. Interviews for camp counselors were completed this past Saturday. There were 15 new applicants and 17 applications from potential return counselors. 2026 hires to be submitted for approval at the next council meeting. The registrations will hopefully be open by the end of this month for residents and early May for non-residents. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Health, Education, and Welfare, Councilwoman Giordano Paserno.
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of Education met last Monday, and as Councilman Morrow pointed out, the governor gave her address for the budget last Tuesday, March 10th, so we're waiting to hear how it will affect the Kenilworth Board of Education. As soon as we get that official notice, I will pass it along. Also, Superintendent Davies is discussing with the board moving their elections to April and not have it roll in with the traditional November elections. They just had their first discussion at this past board meeting, and it'll go to 2 other. Their feeling is that it will, of course, lend more focus and transparency to whenever there are board issues, so it is not bundled with other elections, and it falls in line with having their budget ready and ratified on time. For social concerns, Soup's On is this Thursday, so if anybody is interested in coming, please get in touch with the Senior Center or Borough Hall, I imagine. I believe tickets are still available, and that would be 5:30. The Health Department met last Thursday night. They did set a date for the health fair. Of course, it's not till September 19th, but that's pending approval with St. Teresa's, which is where they typically have it. And the library has some new events for children, kids culinary arts, K-Town, kids karaoke, babysitters book club. Of course, the adults have spin-a-yarn, yarnies, and English conversations. Again, I urge you to go online. Many of these require registration and space is limited, so go online or call the library. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Borough Engineer.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, we had a pre-construction meeting for the CDBG window upgrades for the senior center. We met with the contractor as well as members of the DPW and myself. And we got a schedule when they need to finish by, which is by June for the grant. Other than that, some other construction projects from last year. I've been coordinating with some of the contractors to get a date for them to start and get some additional pre-construction meetings for some of the newer projects that haven't begun yet.
Have we had a date yet for the sidewalks to begin?
Not yet. We're coordinating with them as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
Christian, on the note with the sidewalks, the, what are they called, the ADA bubble things, what are those called?
The detectable warning surfaces.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. The northeast side of 14th Street and Monroe, it's completely shattered. Looks like it was shoveled up and thrown into the street, so.
Well, you are in luck because Monroe is the DOT road for this year. So when we're doing that, I'll have them prepare that.
Great. When?
As soon as they can get out there.
Okay, weather issues.
But it is this year.
Okay. All right, great, thanks.
Chris, I have a question. I was in the parking lot behind the senior center, and there's a big concrete block with 2 cones on it right outside the senior center door.
Yes.
What is that for?
I believe DPW put that up there to prevent,
That parking spot was put there in error. It's an accessible pathway for the residents to get into the senior center. So if cars park there, they can't get in there because cars are too parked close together and it doesn't make it ADA accessible. So we put that there because even though we put cones there or construction barrels, people kept on moving them so they could have that extra parking space. So it's just temporary until they get the parking lot restriped.
wait a second.
And on the topic of sidewalks, so walking in here, parking on the side of the rec, in front of the rec center, I don't know if it's asphalt or what. It's all chopped up.
We're either gonna get that core to see if it's actually a supply issue and kind of mix up that they put down. But it's gonna, we're gonna meet with the contractor and then possibly get it poured and then direct it to the supplier, depending on what they buy.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Borough CFO.
Thank you, Mayor. As Finance Chairman Morrow mentioned, we are actively working on the budget, meeting with the departments, and looking to have something presented to you for introduction at the April 1st meeting. And that's not an April Fool's joke. That's all I have.
Thank you. Borough Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, there are a number of items on the agenda tonight that deal with the borough's obligation to comply with fourth round affordable housing obligations. I know that our Affordable Housing Council couldn't be here this evening. We have our Affordable Housing Planner here who will be able to speak, I guess, specifically with respect to some of the overlay zoning ordinances that we have. If you like, I could give kind of a foundation.
Can you do that so that I think there's probably some people here that would like to know why we did what we did?
Sure.
We can
Yeah.
explain that to everyone.
Fair enough. So the regulations imposed by the state of New Jersey required us to adopt a fourth round affordable housing plan, as well as supportive ordinances and zoning ordinances relative to the same, in order for us to immunize the borough from builder's remedy lawsuits where builders essentially can ask the courts to permit them to develop high-density, inclusionary affordable housing projects anywhere where they have a property interest. This is not something that the borough was looking to promote. I mean, affordable housing obviously serves a purpose, so no one has anything against people that require affordable housing. But there is obviously an impact associated with providing that, because there are also market rate units that are included in those development projects. So certainly the borough was cognizant of the impact on the community and charged our professionals with establishing an affordable housing plan that would enable the affordable housing inclusionary projects to be developed in the least harmful locations throughout the borough. There are 560-something municipalities in the state. All but the urban centers have an obligation, so we're not in a unique position. The affordable housing laws have existed since the mid-70s and have been the subject of numerous lawsuits going all the way up to the Supreme Court multiple times in virtually every decade since the 70s, trying to invalidate these obligations, but to no avail. So the reality is, we didn't have a choice. We had to provide this plan if we didn't want developers to come in, make applications to court, and have judges deciding what our zoning was going to be throughout the town. It's always best for you to have some sort of influence on this. I know that this does impact certain communities. The only thing that I could tell you is that we had strived hard to minimize the impacts to the neighborhoods that will be adjacent to where these developments are being zoned. All we're required to do is provide a realistic opportunity for the zoning. It doesn't mean that these projects are going to be popping up, but we have to provide the opportunity for zoning, because if we don't, then we're gonna be told where it's going, as opposed to us having input. So we do have a number of resolutions that are on the consent agenda. Those resolutions deal with us endorsing the fourth round affordable housing plan, which was adopted by the planning board, and implementing and adopting a marketing plan and a spending plan. The marketing plan and spending plan language are requirements that the legislature has imposed upon us. We're virtually implementing exactly what we were told. The fourth round affordable, the fourth round housing element and fair share plan was heard at the planning board level with a public hearing, and all we are doing is endorsing what has already been adopted. The ordinances that we have on, one of the ordinance is just putting into place regulations which we were told by the state that we had to implement. Then there are a couple of zoning ordinances, and I imagine that's what the crux of the public are here today that they have questions regarding. These are all overlay zones. These are not superseding zoning, so rest assured that whatever use you're currently using your property for is not being prohibited by this ordinance. This ordinance is just creating the opportunity for the development of a new residential development, which would have an inclusionary component to it. So we are doing this to comply with the requirements imposed by law, and we're doing all of this so that we don't get sued by developers seeking to put development in even less desirable locations than the ones that we had selected. And again, our planner is here and is able to address, I guess, the zoning ordinances. He also played a crucial role in drafting the regulatory resolutions and the regulatory ordinance. But I could just tell you that those ordinances, which I imagine, and those resolutions, I don't imagine anyone's really here for those. We had very, very little discretion on what to say in those. We were pretty much given marching orders by the state of New Jersey. So that's the overview of what those zoning ordinances are, what the affordable housing ordinances are, and those three resolutions.
Okay. I just want to add, is that a wall, Mark?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that- I just want to reiterate, because these overlay zones are there, this does not mean that any of these properties will ever be developed. They're privately owned, and they can stay the way they are forever. It's just that we have to show good faith to the court that we would allow that in the event in the future one of those properties was sold and someone wanted to put a development there. So it doesn't mean that anything will ever be built. Nothing, hopefully it'll never change, and all the businesses we have will continue operating the way they are successfully, and we won't have any development. So it doesn't mean that development is coming. There's no projects. It's just an overlay zone. It just basically the existing zoning. It just allows it. That's all it does in the future.
And if I could just add something to that,
Mhm.
and our planner is here, and he could say if I'm right or wrong, but I think that all those overlay zones did contemplate the fact that assemblages would have to be made in order to afford to develop the projects. As a general rule, the more uses that your property has available to it as a permitted use, the more valuable it becomes, because perhaps someone wants to buy it and do something with it. So that's one way that you could look at it. I know people have legitimate concerns, and certainly I understand it, but understand that I don't think that any of these overlay zones are going to open up the door for someone to buy a house in the middle of the block and disrupt the entire block. They would have to buy multiple properties to do something with adequate buffers and setbacks and everything. And that's what our planner helped put together here.
And I think most people here are within 200 feet of these overlay zones, because I don't know that we really have residential properties in these overlay zones right now, currently.
Good point.
Yeah.
And I think that our planner maybe
If we
can
need-
indicate, when you're dealing with the transition between different zones, there are enhanced buffering requirements to kind of protect the residents. Is that accurate? Yeah.
You know what, I don't know that we
You
should get into this
Alright.
until we get to the
Okay.
ordinances. I just wanted, because it was for you to speak and have the opportunity to sort of explain that.
Sure.
Thank you. Borough Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have to, a reminder and a notice. Just a reminder that petition filing for the June 2026 primary election is due Monday, March 23rd at 4 p.m. All petitions must be filed in the clerk's office. I also just wanted to let everyone know the RFPs are out for the fireworks display for 2026, and I do expect them at the end of the month. And we do have need for executive session. Resolutions 26-93 through 26-102 have been approved, oh, I'm sorry, wrong line. Next for council consideration is the consent agenda consisting of resolutions 26-93 through 26-102.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Motion made by Councilman Fenestrella, seconded by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno. Roll call?
Resolutions 26-93 through 26-102 have been approved by one motion. All items will be recorded individually in full in the minutes. Councilman Boyle?
Yes.
Councilman Fenestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Giordano Paserno?
Yes.
Councilman Morrow?
Yes.
Councilman Piper?
Yes.
And Councilman Scurries.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, before we begin with the ordinances, I would like to just briefly explain the process. The ordinances before the council tonight implement the borough's court-approved housing element and fair share plan, which is required under state affordable housing law. 4 of the ordinances establish affordable housing overlay zones in different areas of the borough. The ordinances are essentially the same in structure and standards, but each applies to a different location. Because they are separate ordinances, the law requires that each ordinance have its own public hearing, even though many of the questions or comments may be similar. If a question is asked during the first hearing and applies to the others, this explanation will still apply to those ordinances as well. However, we will still open each ordinance individually for public comment before the council considers adoption.
Public hearing and adoption, 2026-03, an ordinance to enact 120-23.19 Mark Road Overlay Zone in the Article 23, Part 3, in Chapter 102 of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth to provide district regulations for an overlay zone and to address compliance with the borough's affordable housing obligations.
This ordinance establishes the Mark Road Overlay Zone in Kenilworth to meet the borough's fourth round affordable housing obligations by permitting multifamily residential development with a 20% affordable set-aside. It outlines zoning regulations, design standards, green building practices, and infrastructure requirements for properties within the overlay zone. Is there a motion to open the floor for public comment on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Boyle, seconded by Councilman Fenestrella. All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have anything to say about this ordinance and this ordinance only? Please come forward and state your name and address. Okay, seeing no one, is there a motion to close the floor for comment on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve this ordinance for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Morrow, seconded by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno. Roll call?
Councilman Boyle?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilwoman Giordano Paserno?
Yes.
Councilman Morrow?
Yes.
Councilman Piper?
Yes.
And Councilman Scurries.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up, we have ordinance 2026-04, an ordinance to enact Chapter 120-23.18 in Article 23 and Part 3 in Chapter 120 of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth to provide district regulations for an overlay zone and to address compliance with the borough's affordable housing obligations.
Okay, this ordinance establishes the Market Street Overlay Zone in Kenilworth to meet affordable housing obligations by permitting multifamily residential development with a minimum 20% affordable housing set-aside on designated properties along Market Street. It outlines zoning regulations, design standards, green building practices, and climate resiliency measures for developments within this overlay zone. Is there a motion to open the floor for public comment on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have anything to say or comment on this ordinance only? Please come forward and state your name and address. Okay, seeing no one, is there a motion to close the floor for public comment on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Fenestrella, seconded by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve this ordinance for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Piper, seconded by Councilman Boyle. Roll call?
Councilman Boyle?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilwoman Giordano Paserno?
Yes.
Councilman Morrow?
Yes.
Councilman Piper?
Yes.
And Councilman Scurries.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up is 2026-05, an ordinance to enact Chapter 120-23.17 in Article 23 in Part 3 in Chapter 120 in the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth to provide district regulations for an overlay zone and to address compliance with the borough's affordable housing obligations.
The ordinance establishes North Michigan Avenue overlay zone in Kenilworth to meet affordable housing obligations by permitting multifamily residential development with a minimum 20% affordable housing set aside on designated properties along Market Street. It outlines zoning regulations, design standards, green building practices, and climate resiliency measures for development within this overlay zone. Is there a motion to open the floor for public comment on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilman Fenestrella, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have anything to say on this ordinance only? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Michael Schweitzer, property inside 75 North Michigan Avenue. The question is with all this planning and so forth, has there been any consideration that if something happens what will be the effect on traffic? How will any traffic increase mitigation be paid for, et cetera?
If some development comes, all of that will be taken into consideration before it's allowed, everything. And whoever wants to build this property would pay that bill.
They would be responsible for that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
There's accounts set up and,
Because it's already very busy there.
right, of course, yes. They would still have to go through all the whole approval process. It wouldn't just be that they could just go ahead and build what they want.
Okay, and the same thing would go for any additional costs associated with
Correct.
schooling, et cetera?
Everything, yep, it all
That
comes
wouldn't need
in.
to be absorbed by current residents?
Correct. No, it would not be absorbed.
I'll let you
That's
know.
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no one else, is there a motion to close the floor for public comment on this ordinance only?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Piper, seconded by Councilman Boyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve this ordinance for adoption?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilman Fenestrella, seconded by Councilman Piper. Roll call?
Councilman Boyle?
Yes.
Councilman Fenestrella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Giordano Paterno?
Yes.
Councilman Morrow?
Yes.
Councilman Piper?
Yes.
And Councilman Scurries.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up is ordinance 2026-06, an ordinance to enact chapter 120-23.20 in Article 23 and Part 3 in chapter 120 of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth to provide district regulations for an overlay zone and to address compliance with the borough's affordable housing obligation.
This ordinance establishes the West Sumner Avenue overlay zone in Kenilworth to meet affordable housing obligations by permitting multifamily residential development with a minimum 20% affordable housing set aside on designated properties along Market Street. It outlines zoning regulations, design standards, green building practices, and climate resiliency measures for developments within this overlay zone. Is there a motion to open the floor for public comment on this ordinance only?
Motion?
Motion made by Councilwoman Giordano Paterno, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have anything to say for on this ordinance and this ordinance only? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Howard Queller, 165 Sumner. These overlay zones are rather large. Is there any minimum amount of a property that the developer would have to buy, or would they have to develop the whole zone?
No, they would not have to develop the whole zone. I think that I'm going to have our planner answer that question because it's layered. There's several different answers for here. Gabe? Yes.
Good evening. Gabe Baylor, Harbor Consultants. So Harbor Consultants help draft and
You can stay up if you, I'm sorry, excuse me, if you have more comments. You don't have to sit down.
If I do, I'll get back up.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There is no minimum requirement in terms of the number of units or parcels included to develop a property. It's on a base-for-base basis, in terms of all the properties within this overlay permit the multifamily, permit density 20 units an acre, but this in terms of the number of properties needed to develop, it's on a base-for-base basis.
So basically, each request would be on its own
merit.
its own, okay.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Right, so the developer could buy the lot next to you and develop it, and you'd have no say in it?
No, you would still have say in it.
Yeah.
And they would still have to fulfill all their obligations and everything.
Yeah,
And they would have to
and-
come to the borough, the whole
Yeah.
process.
Yeah,
All this does is give opportunity. That's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, in terms of, as the mayor mentioned, all these approvals have to go through the process of board approval, so there's a say. in terms of
Studies, traffic studies,
So
everything.
this isn't just, it's permitted and provides an overlay, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be approved. That has to go through a process to get approved.
Mayor, if I could just expand upon that. So that means that there's going to be a land use hearing. In this particular case, it would be a planning board meeting. And to the extent that an applicant puts a case in, you'll have the opportunity to cross-examine their witnesses. You'll have an opportunity to express your concerns to the planning board, and those are factors that the planning board would consider in rendering their opinion. And I just wanted to, I guess, lend a little bit more clarity to the question relative to the earlier ordinance where there were questions about, impact of traffic and whatnot. The planning board has the same jurisdiction it would have for any type of application. So to the extent that the planning board has the ability to impose obligations for anything that's off-site or anything that's on-site, under other circumstances, it would equally have those rights with respect to these applications. So I just wanted to
Thank
make
you.
that a little clearer.
Okay. Are you satisfied with that answer? Do you understand? Okay. Does anyone else have a comment?
Michael Schweitzer again, this 20 Wells Drive. So they're looking at the map, it appears that there are two properties that were missing. If you're taking a look at the entire corner there from the proposed zoning, just wondering, for the first question, why that is. Is there a reason behind that?
Which ones are you?
The corner, right where your finger is. Yeah. There's two properties there that were not.
I think Dave's pulling up the map here. Is that it?
Yes.
Right.
One's not colored.
So the black one in the far right corner. Is that Roselle Park?
No, Union's right.
No, right there where your finger,
Yeah,
yes.
those two properties. It seems like it's an oversight or something to me. I'm just curious what the thought process was behind that.
I don't think that's Kenilworth, is it?
No.
I believe that's Roselle Park.
Union.
Yeah, Union or Roselle Park.
The
yeah.
map I looked at
Yeah.
said Kenilworth, that's the reason for
Yeah.
that first question.
Yeah, it looks like it's outside Kenilworth.
It's outside our boundary.
Yeah.
If it's outside the boundary, then that's fair. Like I said,
So that's a good question.
On the Google
Yeah.
Maps.
Yeah,
Can't
that's a good
trust
question.
Yeah, for fact, definitely not Kenilworth.
I believe so, based on just
Yeah.
the mapping.
But if you could find out, that would be interesting to learn to just verify that. And then-
You know what the addresses are, so we can...
I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
have the map in my office. I can send it to you.
That is Kenilworth, it should be included.
Yeah, no, I mean,
If it was.
this in terms of all the properties that are not have the block and lot. So these properties don't have block and lot, so it's outside of Kenilworth.
Because that you're looking at our tax map, and the tax map will have our lot and plots, not in other municipalities. Okay.
Okay, and then the second question is, assuming somebody is interested in any of these properties, and this goes for all the ordinances here, and they really want a piece of property, is there any plan or is there any thought that might impact current owners for meeting the requirements that this...
The current owner has no obligation to sell their
I
property.
understand that, but in order, is there any plan or any implication that eminent domain may come into place?
No,
to take
absolutely
over?
Not,
No.
I don't think anyone on the governing body here has any
Okay,
interest
just wanna
in
make
doing
sure
that
question's on
at all,
record,
Not
because
at
anywhere.
it's An issue in other towns.
Right, no, that is not in our plan. I think I can speak for everyone up here.
Absolutely.
But that is not what any of us
Question, 'cause
want to do.
Other places have, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
Right.
Our obligation is just to provide zoning opportunity, not to ensure that it gets vertically constructed.
We just want to comply with the law.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa's getting her exercise tonight. Hey, anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Herbert, 14 North 12th Street. Thank you for this opportunity. Mayor and the attorney both stated that, no individual land owner has to sell. And I And I just want to get clarity. I understand that maybe somebody in the audience is still not sure. If we didn't make this move and make an overlay zone, we would lose full control when they went to the planning board. Where now, when it is, and if they happens, they gotta go to the planning board. Planning board is gonna look out for the best interest of the borough of County.
Right.
So now we have protection.
We have protection, that's why we're doing this, so that a developer can't come in and just build wherever they want and do whatever they want.
Exactly.
We have protection from the court, and we did not have that currently. The borough was exposed in a very big way.
So that's all, I just wanted to clarify why this is happening. We do have control over what's happening.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Come on up. Don't be shy.
See you next year. My name is Geraldine Tonzola. I live at 710 Kingston Avenue. And, this town is only about 2 miles square, very small town. And I don't know why every person in town, every resident isn't made aware of this, not just the people who are within 200 feet. Because it would affect everybody, to me, the whole town. And I'm gonna raise something, other than this, because I have no faith in the planning board. Because many of you don't know that last year the planning board approved Dunkin' Donuts, the owner, knocking it down, and it's supposed to be a drive-through. And the building next to it is gonna be a residential housing, which originally was not zoned for, but the planning board approved it. And I know the traffic at the boulevard in Michigan, I can't even get out of my street in the morning. So, like you said, should a developer want to do this?
We also have this on our borough website, right? It is posted, so the information is available to the public.
I don't know how many, I don't even go on it, so I don't know how many people do go on it. But like I said, they went ahead and approved that, which, really wasn't zoned for residential housing. And I live in that building's directly behind my house on the boulevard. But I don't think anybody else in town is aware of that was approved. The same thing, like if you're gonna build something the other side of town, I would like to know about it and have a say, yes or no. I'm in this town almost 69 years this year, and I see big changes. The traffic is overbuilt and everything else. So, I don't know, I don't think anybody knows about that. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you for that information. Maybe we'll find other ways to get information out to the public. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, I'd like a motion to close the floor for public comment on this ordinance only.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Boyle, seconded by Councilman Fenestrella. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve this ordinance for adoption?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilman Piper, seconded by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno. Roll call?
Councilman Boyle?
Yes.
Councilman Fenestrella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Giordano Paserno?
Yes.
Councilman Morrow?
Yes.
Councilman Piper?
Yes.
And Councilman Scurries.
Yes.
Motion passes. The last ordinance we have this evening is 2026-07, an ordinance amending Part 5 and Chapter 120 of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth to address requirements of the Fair Housing Act as amended and the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls as amended regarding compliance with the borough's affordable housing obligations.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to amend the land use code to comply with the Fair Housing Act and Uniform Housing Affordability Controls, ensuring the creation and long-term affordability of very low, low, and moderate income housing units. It establishes detailed requirements for inclusionary developments, affordability controls, design standards, affirmative marketing, monitoring, and enforcement mechanisms to meet the municipality's fair share housing obligations. Is there a motion to open the floor for public comment on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Giordano Paserno, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, does anyone have anything to say on this ordinance and this ordinance only? Please come forward and state your name and address.
14 North 12th Street, Kenilworth, New Jersey. I do have a question on page 3 of this ordinance, Article B, definitions. If we can get some, if I can get some clarity of it. The first definition addresses accessory apartments. Is that only going to be allowed in the overlay zones or throughout the whole township?
I think this just pertains to just overlay.
So, excuse me, so this is just, these definitions are related from the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls. It does not mean that Kenilworth is permitting any accessory apartments. This in terms of providing a definition for guidance if maybe in the future the borough does, but it does not permit any accessory apartments. The overlay only permits multifamily developments and the underlying zoning within itself.
Okay, so then my question is, why would we even list that under accessory apartments? And the last line in that article says accessory dwelling units on the same lot, when the law has not been passed yet. To delete single-family zones. I know our government is trying to delete the single-family zones, which, you know, is very disheartening. It's the American dream, everybody owning their own. And I'm just concerned, and I think as this was discussed year after year with the planning board, I know, without mentioning names, some of the planning board members were concerned that this doesn't pop up through the whole town, that somebody can add an accessory dwelling unit or make a door in a garage and convert it to a, you know, a one-person apartment. And, you know, a lot of people are concerned with that. So I'm just looking for clarity tonight. If this ordinance is only for the overlay zone, that possibly may happen in the future, or is it throughout the whole town?
The ordinance, the affordable housing ordinance applies to any affordable housing unit itself. Those are the regulations. Those provide the regulations related to that. So in terms of, like I said, even the accessory apartment, accessory dwelling unit is not permitted in Kenilworth. None of the overlays permit this type of use. So this in terms of the definition that was provided from the state, this as a guiding principle, but it does not mean the borough is permitting these type of uses within any area within the borough at all.
I believe 1 in 4 units, if there, and we don't have 4-family houses in Kenilworth. At least we're not supposed to, but 1 in 4, right? Am I right?
We do have a 6-family
Yeah.
Mayor, I think I may be able to link clarity, if you may. Dave, we were provided a model ordinance, and that's what we modeled our ordinance over, correct? So there are things in our ordinance that are not reflective of actual zoning that's covered in our housing element and in any of our ordinances, correct?
Correct.
And we would end up having to change either our housing element, that's a portion of our master plan that has public hearings associated with such an action, if we were going to include or make some sort of change to include accessory structures in the future.
Correct.
Okay, so we just adopted this ordinance essentially as is because the state strongly recommended it.
Yes, this was a state model. Just in terms of providing a basis for these these requirements and these regulations related to affordable housing. But it does not, like I said, it does not mean, even though it's within the definition, it does not mean it's permitted.
And we entered into a settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing, and we were also had a court order telling us that we had adopted this particular ordinance as part of our settlement and as part of the process to secure the unit.
Yes, and the court order was the overlays, so none of the mechanisms were related to accessory apartments or accessory dwelling units. So all of the mechanisms are related to the overlay zones.
To the overlay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not throughout the town, which is my biggest concern. But regarding that it's not with our affordable housing under chapter 120 now. The ordinance clearly says on page 1, in ordinance amended Part 5, affordable housing in chapter 120.
Yeah,
So
but
we
but
do
it's
have
only,
something.
all it is saying it's a definition. But that definition doesn't pop up anywhere saying.
Oh, in our ordinance.
Exactly.
Right. There's no language
Correct.
for that.
And there's not been, certainly to my knowledge, and you've been involved more than I have, Dave, but I don't recall anybody explaining any interest.
Gabriel.
Oh, Gabriel, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No one expressed an interest in pursuing that. That wasn't.
Okay, thank you very much for clearing that up. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you.
Question, Mark, while we're here. Would it mess up the whole program if you threw a line in there to say this only pertains to affordable housing, not the rest of the borough?
That would be redundant, and I wouldn't suggest that we change it at this point in time on second read.
So it's not necessary in your opinion?
I don't think it is necessary, no.
Okay.
And that's Minister Eva's fault.
Anyone else?
May I? My name is John Esco. Good evening, everyone. I live in 25 South Michigan Avenue, many years. My question, when you're talking about affordable, is there going to give a preference for Kenworth, people from Kenworth, or anybody from outside? Let's say if the
Each
people
project, those stipulations would happen at the specific project, when the project was planned with the planning board. So, and I don't believe that we could say just Kenilworth residents, as far as I understand the law, is that, but it is from our region, so there's an area that people, and it's our surrounding neighborhoods, where people would be able to apply for affordable units.
Okay, and I don't know if this question, what about doesn't affect overall our taxes, the value of our home? It's going to be benefit, or?
Well, there's not a project that's really presented, so I couldn't answer that, because there may never be a project presented. So each project would stand on its own merit, and the negotiations would be different for each project, if they even come about.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Real quick, preference will be given if the people, like, you can give seniors preference and veterans, but there'll be a time period, so you'd have to act quickly. So but that would have to come up as the projects came up. I wanted to put it in ahead of time, but they said, you really can't, you gotta wait till, and then set those conditions for those, because I think if anyone should have it, should be seniors and veterans. They should benefit, at least give them first crack at it, first preference. So that will hopefully be.
And that depends upon the developer.
Yeah.
The marketing plan, which was one of our resolutions, is a plan that is following regulations that the legislature put into place that require the units to be marketed in such a way that we can't unduly influence the process. It's a lottery process. There is some weighting that takes place, and again, told how this has to be done, and that's what's in that one of the resolutions in the consent agenda, which was adopted.
I was also told we would be able to do seniors and veterans stuff. You're saying we can't do that with this lottery?
No, you would end up having to have the property zoned, or the person has to do an application for that. If someone came in and they wanted to do an inclusionary project, and they wanted it to be veterans housing, then they have to make an application for that, and then at that point in time, it gets adjusted. I'm involved in, maybe not as much as Gabe, but I'm in 6 towns, and I haven't seen anybody zone for veterans housing without there being an active applicant seeking to develop a particular piece of property. So it would be highly unusual for us to say that we're going to designate a particular zone for veterans housing without having a developer that wants to do it.
Yeah, you have to wait for them to have a project.
But at that point in time, it certainly could be done.
And then we would try to put it in.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to do 100% senior or veteran. We can only do a certain percentage. I know that's a stipulation.
And Councilmember, it depends on each project. You know, sometimes projects are 100% affordable housing, could be senior, 100% senior affordable housing project. Each one is on a different application in terms of what is being.
And they get different grants and different funding. Most of the veterans housing, I think all the veterans housing that I've seen in my career have been 100% because they end up having federal funding and there's federal programs for it. And they require that. But again, that's a developer by developer and property by property process. And we cross that bridge when we get approached by a developer that wants to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else from the public? Wish to speak? Okay, seeing no one, I'd like a motion to close the floor for comment on this ordinance only.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Scurry, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve this ordinance for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Piper, seconded by Councilman Fenestrella. Roll call?
Councilman Boyle?
Yes.
Councilman Fenestrella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Giordano Paterno?
Yes.
Councilman Morrow?
Yes.
Councilman Piper?
Yes.
And Councilman Scurries.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, at this time, I'd like a motion to open the floor to the public.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Boyle, seconded by Councilwoman Giordano Paterno. All in favor? Does anyone have anything to say for the good and well-being of Kenilworth? Please come forward and state your name and address. Okay, seeing no one, I'd like a motion to close the floor for public discussion.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilman Scurry, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have workshop items to discuss. Any workshop items anyone would like to discuss? Is this in the right forum here? Because we just closed the floor to the public, and workshop session, I'm not really sure what's happening here.
She's speaking as a department.
Okay, so she's coming up as a department head. Okay. It's Kristen Boyle, Kenilworth Rec.
575 Boulevard. I'm coming up to talk about our summer camp fees and the changes that have happened to our program since the fees were increased in 2024. I have numbers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I had put in a request to amend the fees to our residents for summer camp, to increase them based on the decrease in non-resident registrations after their fees were increased in 2024, as well as the consistently increasing minimum wage rates that are happening every year. Last year, if we go to the second page, it'll show you our budget numbers from 2018 to now as to what we brought in and where we ended up. So in 2018, when fees were straight flat across the board, we brought in $109,192 in fees. In 2019, we brought in $100,629 in fees. 2020 and 2021 were COVID modified years, So we did not charge any of our residents for summer camp that year. We had money left over, so we were able to provide modified camps for all of our residents for those 2 summers. 2022 was our first full year back. Our registrations were still low, people were still uncertain. We brought in 82,943. And we started that season with 44,671. In 2023, we brought in 131,000.
One thing,
Yeah.
so I understand. So
Mhm.
that 44,671 was a leftover from 2019? Okay.
Yes. In 2023, we brought in 131,156, and we started that season with 57,340. 2024, we only brought in 97,520, started the season with 80,148, and it was a decrease of 33,636 from before the fees were raised for non-residents. 2025, last summer, we brought in 86,432, started that season with 44,000. Payroll alone for the summer was 95,129. If we didn't have the cushion from the previous year, we would have been negative. We would not have been able to complete payroll. There was a $44,000 decrease since before the fees were raised.
Can I ask you a question? In the years 23 to 24, 25, are we maintaining the same amount of counselors with less enrollment?
Last year, we did bring in more because of 2023, how many we had, how many campers we had. So in order to cover the ratio, we increased our amount of counselors to cover the ratio, but then we didn't max out. We had enough counselors to cover if we maxed out for the summer.
So because 2023 had a lot of families joining, we based our 2025 camp counselor
Or
numbers?
2024 numbers.
24, okay.
24.
So when 25 came around, did we reduce the number of counselors?
No, we didn't.
How come?
I was hoping that we would get our numbers back. I was hoping the first year would be a hit, and then the second year, we'd be able to start building back, and that's
So
what
it,
happened.
the payroll issue really was our poor forecasting, if we really think about it.
If that's what you want to call it, that's fine. In 2020.
Well, I'm sorry, Kristen, that's not what I want to call it. We forecasted a number based on the prior year, which was based on a prior record year, and we're not decreasing it, but we're seeing lower enrollments. But if we're keeping the staff the same, it sounds like we didn't forecast correctly on how many counselors we would need. I'm not trying to say, point fingers or anything, it seems like it's a fact, not how I want to say it. Okay.
This year, I'm decreasing based on the numbers of the past 2 years. But in order to move the program forward, especially with the minimum wage rates being increased significantly, we need to increase our fees for our residents, because that is the primary attendant of our camp. On the next page, I have the breakdown of the registrations from 2022 to 2025. In 2022, we had 204 residents registered and 106 non-residents. 2023, we had 225 residents registered, 196 non-residents. After the fee increase in 2024, we had 167 residents and 48 non-residents. 2025, we had 145 residents and 34 non-residents. In the previous evaluation in 2024, when those numbers were pulled for the registrations, the St. Teresa students, choice students, were not counted as Kenilworth. So those numbers, when it was originally pulled, were skewed because there was no question for clarification on those numbers. So when I broke it down more and gave real numbers, it was significantly different than what was presented. I understand the council's stance on raising resident fees versus not also raising non-resident fees. I get it. But primarily, the residents are the ones now that have to fund this program because we don't have support from borough budget. It has to be self-sustaining. And the only way to do that right now, I feel, is to increase the resident rates.
Are the students from St. Teresa's and the Choice students now counted in the resident
Yes.
numbers?
Yes.
Okay, because that's important.
So, Kristen,
Yes.
a few questions.
Yeah.
Where are the campers going, the non-residents? Because we're still the cheapest camp in town, and we've pulled the numbers, with the exception of Clark. Good point. In surrounding towns, we're still at the bottom of the tier. I think Clark was the only one on your report that came in a little lower, that also accepted non-residents. There are other towns like Union that don't even accept non-residents.
So Union is very small. They only accept 50 campers because they don't want to compete with the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA. They can't. They charge a flat rate, they're not self-sustaining, and they have borough funding.
So my primary question, though, is where are the non-resident campers going? Where do we suspect they're going? It's a suspicion, I'm asking, I'm going somewhere.
It's all right. You're talking about a 66% drop off.
Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. Where do we think they're going?
I think they're either going to the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club and staying in their own town.
So they're spending more money to do that.
If they're gonna be spending more money, they might as well stay in their own town.
Okay, so
what I
that's a
think is
good
happening.
point. So all of the programs that our town runs have to be primarily focused on our residents because they're Kenilworth program.
Correct.
So we're not really in the business of worrying about can non-residents afford our camp. It's 100% about the residents. Now, I understand what you're trying to do here with the numbers and trying to make the budget up, and I applaud you for that. I just can't accept not charging more for non-residents because of what you're putting in front of us and only going after residents for the
We
increase.
still would be charging more for non-residents.
In 2026 versus 25? That's not what you proposed to us.
No, not in 2026. In general, we're still charging more for non-residents.
No, I mean,
than
in the rate.
residents.
If you have a budget problem and we're looking at a shortfall, I'm for increasing the rates. I'm not for only increasing it on our residents. It's not a charity we're running here. This is a camp. If it needs to be sustained, it needs to be sustained, and I get that, but I can't have it on the backs of just the residents to pull it back.
Well, didn't we raise the non-resident?
We went
I have
from
a question.
75 to
Wait,
150.
stop, wait. Why is this happening here? This should be happening with the department, the rec department.
It's workshop.
And then,
It's
right, but
workshop.
it should
Okay,
be,
yeah,
and it
why
should
not?
also happen then, if you want to bring in someone from the finance committee, this should not be happening in work session.
I
This should be
disagree.
happening
Numerous-
within the
Why wouldn't
committee.
this happen in work session?
Because that's how, we don't bring
No.
each, this is why we have committees.
Mayor, we can't
It
have the
sounds like you
finance
want
committee-
this to be public
We
for some
cannot have the
reason.
finance committee meet with the rec committee because we have quorum requirements we have.
You
Okay,
have,
so hold on.
the head of the rec department, which is Councilman Piper, should be
He and I
meeting
had-
with you.
And how do you know that
after
didn't
he
happen?
meets. I don't know, but then if
Yeah, so
it
don't assume
didn't happen, then why
It
are you
happened,
doing this?
And it needs to come to the full governing body for a workshop. I'm sorry, Mayor, you could have asked that question instead of
Okay.
assuming that you were right about it.
At our meetings, we discussed it.
But hold on, so I
This is
made,
absolutely the appropriate place to do workshop,
Okay.
Mayor. You
I-
called
Okay.
for a workshop.
You know what?
This what?
Someone
this-
else is talking.
So
Kristen,
you should
can you
listen to
finish?
yourself at that one then.
Can we listen
I
to Kristen
made
finish?
numerous requests to meet with my subcommittee. With the exception of Councilman Piper, the others did not want to sit down. We
Who's on your
scheduled
subcommittee?
Councilman Scarice, Councilman Finestrella, and Councilman
and-
Piper.
And other
Piper.
meetings.
That was supposed to be Monday. At
We-
the last
we-
meeting,
we-
it was supposed to be,
Back in November and December, we scheduled 2 meetings, got rescheduled to accommodate their, whatever else they had going on, which I understand, it
We had
happens,
ours.
life
We had
happens.
ours.
Then
who, you and Kristen.
Councilman Piper
Okay.
came to the meeting,
Everybody else there.
Right.
Councilman Scarice and Councilman Finestrella didn't show up.
Twice.
I
Twice.
conveyed my position to Councilman Piper.
Tell me that.
Correct, but the one in December, he found out after he was already at the meeting. Because I was sitting right next to him when he called you.
I go to all the other meetings on that.
So I don't understand
So
why
then
the
this
committee
meeting,
doesn't meet.
so then this meeting was scheduled,
So we're here.
and then they said she can talk to us at work session.
Well, I remember at the last council meeting, you all were supposed to meet the following Monday. So I thought this was coming
Which got
back.
moved to Thursday, and then got canceled.
So I guess my question would be to the three committee members, why can't you get together to meet with the rec director, figure it out, and bring it back to council, so we have all the information, instead of having this
What happens with every other
minutia of a
department.
discussion.
So
that
just to
happens.
enlighten everybody, this came to the Finance Committee, and unanimously, the Finance Committee balked at not raising rates on the non-residents
But
while
how
we're
can it
looking
come
at.
to the Finance Committee if the
goddamn,
rec
how am I
committee
gonna be able to
didn't-
finish a thought if everybody keeps interrupting? And then when everybody gets interrupted, they get mad that they were interrupted.
You seem
The
like
Finance
the only one
Committee,
that's mad.
because this is exactly what happened with the mayor and me 5 seconds ago. Let's have a decorum here where people get to finish the thought.
Correct.
All right?
And all I
All
asked
right, I guess
was,
not.
how could it go to the Finance Committee if it didn't start with the rec committee?
Tristan had reached out,
It did.
and we, see,
But
you're all
only one
assuming that
member
it,
of the three showed up.
you're all assuming process wasn't followed here, and it absolutely was. And we can enlighten you on how that
Okay,
played
so
out.
why don't you let the
Process
other
is
two
followed.
committee members talk about the
Fine, I won't
process?
finish the thought I was making from the
Okay.
Finance Committee perspective. I don't know why this got contentious. Ms. Boyle is here trying to talk and advocate for the campers. I don't understand why this had to be called out in a public session the way you did, Mayor. This is absolutely
Well,
the
why
place
we're
to workshop
discussing
something.
this here.
This is
Sorry.
absolutely the place to
The
workshop
mayor
something.
did it. The rec
Kristen,
director
I'll tell you,
did
the
it.
Finance Committee, when they met on this, they could not swallow the pill that the residents would not see the increase. We are all for you sustaining this camp the way you have been. I applaud you on being able to do that with most of the programs you run, if not all. So that's a wonderful thing. I think the 3-day option that you proposed back on the table, you should run with that one. I would be more than willing, from a finance perspective, to see that on a resolution or a fee ordinance, whatever we have to do. The whole fact of raising fees, I think it needs to be done across the board, not just to residents. The town's financing everything for the residents, and it's done through their taxes. So to increase fees for them anywhere and not do it for the non-residents in the same program, I understand the starting point is 150 versus 75. Non-residents 150, residents 75. That, when we did our review 2 years ago, was the appropriate breakdown. We were actually still cheaper than the surrounding towns, who were charging, in some cases, more than double of the resident rate. So
Right,
we were
but-
following the formula that other surrounding towns
And I
had.
understand that, but if you actually look at what those other towns offer and how their camps are built and where their finances come from, there is no comparison. Clark does not pay their employees. We do. The camp does. Clark Camp does not. Union does not. Roselle Park,
Fair.
which is run from the school district, is the only one who is self-sustaining. And we can't compare to them. They have 300 campers a week and over 100 employees.
Yeah, but they take non-residents too, so.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
They
and they
do.
charge a lot more than we do. So when we're
They
talking
also
about
offer
losing
lunch,
families.
and they offer breakfast, and they
They have-
offer swimming, and they
Yeah.
offer labs. They
Class
offer weight.
trips and-
You get
There is
what
no
you pay for.
comparison between the two
You get what you pay
campers.
for. But when we're looking now at losing campers because we increased from 75 to 150, while they're still at 350 a week or whatever, I'm making that up. I don't know what their number actually is. I know what our numbers are. But when we're looking at that, it's hard for me to acknowledge that we're losing non-resident campers to a camp that would cost 100 to 150% more than our camp. If it's an economical reason to come to Kenilworth Camp, it wouldn't make economical sense to go somewhere more expensive even after we increase the fees.
Or they're not
So
going
that's,
anywhere.
just looking at it from the numbers perspective, it's a hard pill to swallow. I am all for you doing the raising of fees so we can sustain the program. I think it needs to be done across the board.
So Roselle Park's fees are $260 for residents and $50 more for non-residents.
Okay, so they're at 310, you said 260? So they're at 310, so they're more than double our camp. So they
More than
could,
double our camp, but only $50 more than their residents.
but still, the non-resident rate is more than double our camp. So I can't see somebody sending their, if economics was the reason, I can't see them going to Roselle Park.
No, I
It
don't
doesn't
think they
make
are.
economic sense.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, so that, I don't, that's why I asked my question, where do we think the campers are going? I don't think they're going to surrounding
I can
towns.
speculate all
I
day
think they're
long
home.
where we think
I
they're
think they're not
going.
going to camp at all. That's what I think.
That's their decision.
Well, and
It hurt us.
the thing that I'm most concerned about, the dwindling funding that's happening to our program has sacrificed all of the different activities that we were offering at one time with field trips and different things. Right now, it isn't a robust program at all. And if you visited any of the others, and I don't know if any of the committee members had the opportunity to do that, you would see the vast difference and why, at this point, even if, say we wind up with an all-resident program, they're going to have nothing to do because we're not going to have funding to have any kind of activities for these kids to do other than play in the playground. and
No,
in
we'll
the
have to
gym.
vastly increase them. Which
I'm
I'm
sorry?
trying, we'd have to vastly increase
Of
them, which I'm
course.
trying to avoid.
I mean,
It's
you
interesting
see
we're-
the budget is going down, and I just think that the residents have not been given any increase in how many years? I'm not sure.
2015 was the last time we increased it because that's when we started doing the background checks.
2015.
And we started absorbing the
So 10
background check
years,
fees.
we have not increased the residents' fees.
Right.
What is your
proposing to increase them
proposal
now.
to increase for? What do you want to increase the fee to?
I had originally proposed to increase them to 100, which.
From $75 a week to $100 a week?
Yeah,
So we're
which
talking
which
$25.
Which I would be fine to revisit that, and even if we were to lower that as a starting point at least, to try and make up for some of the loss.
I mean, we're
So
talking
your proposal is
$5 a
that
day.
the non-residents would pay $150 a week and the residents would pay $100 a week? That's your proposal?
So we could look
Well,
at it.
what is
where
everybody's thoughts about
The proposal is
that?
a 30% increase on residents and a 0% increase on non-residents.
The non-residents were increased
I,
last
and
year.
you
only
went
have
through why
34
we doubled them,
residents.
and I think it's very important to note, we're only talking about non-residents and looking at them in the camp. The resident numbers go down year after year too. So if we're not increasing the fees on the residents, why are they going down? So we have.
Because our program
We're,
isn't offering
we're
what it used
making
to offer, Billy,
assumptions
that's why.
based on the non-resident attendance on what the success
No,
of the failure rate of the
I
credit's
can
gonna
tell
be.
you from experience, that's why.
Well,
People
I
leave
could
the
actually
camp,
tell you from experience, because
and
my
so
children
can I.
went there.
And
Mine
my
too.
grandchildren
Mine went there in the
there
years
as
we're
well.
talking. So
Every
I can tell
single
you,
year.
you don't need to be on a pedestal telling me about the experience. I've
I'm not on
lived
a
the
pedestal, I'm
experience.
sitting in my
I
chair.
don't see how this governing body can debate this and say we need to raise the fees for our residents and keep non-resident fees flat.
For $25.
It's not
$5 a day, break it down for an 8-hour
So
day.
charge that to the non-residents as
We
well.
did last
No,
year.
we are talking about a new fee
There's another
increase.
variable here, guys. I'm waiting
What
to
is
say.
it?
All right, so listen.
We ended the 3-day program and forced them to go into 5 days, which is basically an increase. So if they want the discount, I think that, and when exactly did that happen? That could be a big part of this.
Happened the exact
It
year
happened
we
in
debated the fees.
2024.
Yep. It's another reason why we
So
lost
bringing that back, I
attendance.
think, would bring up.
So what do we
100%
do
agree.
for
And
the
that's what I said
3
when we
days?
had, when we had
What's
the
the,
meeting.
what's the
That's-
fee for
that's
that? Let's
something-
talk about the
I
fee.
think that should have it. And
What's-
raising fees is, even residents or non, we're blaming the raising of the fees as to why attendance went down. So if we do it again, it could.
Right.
Yeah, we
You
lose
know,
residents now.
Negatively affected again, that's, we don't know for sure.
What
But I
would,
think
what
it's
is
gonna
the,
get-
what is the
option
fee
that
for
is
3
gonna be
days?
key.
Right now,
What is your proposal for 3 days? I want to know what your proposal is.
I didn't see that here.
60.
So $60 a week for 3 days. And what is the non-resident? Is that an option?
90.
$90 for 3 days.
I'm sorry, what was that? 60 for
60
residents?
for
or non-
residents,
90 for
3
non-
days.
For
and
non-residents.
For the 3 day.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so that's the proposal. So what does everyone think about that? Let's just get a vote here on $100 for residents and 150 for non-residents for 5 days a week.
Ken has this.
That raises the fees for residents. what
I
you're
understand,
saying.
but let's
Okay.
get an idea of what everyone here on the governing body thinks about it. And then it would be $60 a week for residents for 3 days and 90 for non-residents. I'm putting on the table what Kristen is presenting. So everyone has the opportunity to come to their own conclusion on how they feel about what she wants to do.
Okay, be forthright.
Okay.
We're increasing resident fees with that proposal and not increasing non-resident fees.
Right, but
Very
last 2
important
years
note.
ago, we doubled the non-resident fees.
correct.
We doubled.
We did.
That is a very important part of
It may
this.
not have killed the camp, maybe removing the 3-day option killed the
Okay,
camp.
this is,
And if we're talking about.
killing the
Listen,
camp is not the
we're-
conversation we're having. We're
Mayor,
talking about
workshopping
fees.
here. We're not
No,
trying
we're
to come to
talking
a
about
vote, we're
fees.
workshopping. If you want to take a
Can I
full
see
vote,
what
that's
Ken
fine.
wanted? Ken had his hand up.
Yep.
I was just gonna suggest, you're talking about trying to determine what the fee should be. You need to determine what your costs are gonna be first. You're gonna have to have your estimate based on how many
Right.
counselors you're gonna have, how many hours per day, how many days per week, come up with that estimated payroll cost. Then whatever functions you wanna do and what those costs are gonna be, whether it's renting inflatables or this and that. Come up with a total project cost. Then you go back and you look at your estimated number of participants.
Well, of course,
Right.
that's been
And
done
that's
over
where
the
you gotta
years.
base the fee.
But
You're
don't you
talking
need
about
to know
basing the
residents?
fees.
That's been
and
done
not
over
how
the
much
You
you
need to
get.
know the attendance and stuff like that.
You're not there, no.
We should use last year's numbers to forecast attendance for next year. I think that we would see an increase in attendance if we bring back the 3-day option. And I note here the aftercare and all that, and we talked, Kristen, we allow for families to drop their kid off an hour before the camp actually starts, we should charge. That's a service that everywhere else, including the schools, they charge for before care. There's no reason why we should be paying our counselors and then not have that as a fee.
I don't
So
have
there are
all-
ways,
I
there are
don't-
ways I think we should be bringing in the
Just-
revenue.
Just so we're clear, not all my counselors start at 8.
Okay.
That it's a smaller number, and very few get dropped off at 8 o'clock, to be perfectly honest with you. That I don't know how much of an impact that would actually have or help. But I do understand what you're saying. I know a lot of towns do charge for before care, and they do charge for aftercare in the sense of like pickups. Some towns charge per 15 minutes. And I think that's kind of ludicrous, because a parent can't control traffic. A parent can't control if their boss makes them stay late. Like, there are circumstances that I will stand firm on being empathetic to, and not nickel and dime people just because we can, or because anyone thinks that we should, or because other towns do it.
I applaud you for saying that, because I'm empathizing and sympathizing, being one of them, the Kenilworth taxpayer who has to bear the fees for all the things that happen in this town, which is why I stand firm against raising only resident rates and not raising non-resident
I
rates.
didn't want to raise anyone's rates, and I'm sure you remember that. I didn't want to raise anyone's rates unless it was absolutely necessary, until we got to a point where it was absolutely necessary to raise the fees to cover the costs. We're there now. We're there. And if it were up to me, we'd go back to the way it was, and I would start from the ground up again and rebuild it like I did the last 15 years, to see it kind of fall apart in two. It was a little tough to swallow.
I think it's hyperbolic to assume that the fees raised on non-residents is the whole reason why we lost all the attendance. I think there are other factors, including the 3-day piece, that would be a little more
I
of an
think
easier
the
pill to
3
swallow.
played a big role in that.
Chrissy,
Okay.
can you tell us what activities, I know there's a lot, but a summary of what you used to have, and then 2-3 years ago, what the finances have changed? I don't want to lead in with anything. Like, I don't know in the past 2 years, because I have not had a child there, how the activities and trips and all have changed.
So, we no longer have trips.
At all.
The last 2 years, we have not had trips. Last year, the campers couldn't get shirts. We didn't have the amusements, the blow-ups, the kickoff party and the send-off party at the end of the summer, the one in the beginning and the one at the end. daily use supplies weren't replaced. We kind of made do with what we had left, and it's gonna end up being the same thing this year, because I have no way of projecting how many registrations we're gonna have to even order supplies. So,
And when's your cutoff, so that you have time to do whatever?
ideally, the end of May.
So it gives you June
Mm-hmm.
to put it together.
When usually I'm ahead of the game, because we've always had a cushion,
Right.
and we don't have that anymore.
So you're starting in the negative?
No, we have $7,000.
Okay. That wouldn't even pay for one trip.
No. No. Well, depending on the trip, I guess, but it wouldn't pay for the buses, that's for sure.
Right.
Well, who paid for the trip? Was it outside or?
The trips were donated.
Yeah, they were donated trips. so-
They were donated. But we had outside vendors coming in, and which we did have 2 outside vendors that I found relatively reasonable that were able to come in last year, but that was the only thing that we did.
So the trips doesn't increase fees or
The
not? The
trips,
trips
no.
really had no
No, no,
impact?
no.
We're not impacted by the fees?
No, no.
Yeah, okay.
No, the trips weren't, just the supplies.
Hey, look, I'm still curious why our resident numbers are going down in the
Yeah.
camp. I mean, we're focused on the non-residents, making assumptions that fee increase happen. What's going on with our Kenilworth kids? Why aren't they
That's a
coming?
3-day thing.
That's the 3-day thing.
Well,
I'm
that,
all for bringing that back.
And the fact that they're just being
Residents-
thrown into a gym to
Wait,
stay in a hot gym.
residents did not lose that option. The only people that lost that option in 2024 were the non-residents.
Okay. So we still have a
Kenilworth
reduced,
kids going to Roselle Park because they have sewing classes, cooking classes.
They have, yeah.
but we won't have that.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Even if we charge
We don't-
$9,000.
Yeah, we don't have that kind
Hey, we're not
of
even gonna have
resources
that.
for the school.
Listen, I think we're making comparisons to neighboring towns, maybe we shouldn't. I think we're talking about fees being the reason why we're losing campers. I don't think it is. I think there might be something else going on with the camp. It could be what you're saying, Mr. Boyle, that Councilman Boyle, the thing is hot and kids would just rather be outside playing.
Yeah, and
Parents are
also,
changing their
We
tune.
do know every single one of these kids and every single family. Over the years, we've known every single one of them.
Sure.
We have parents telling us that, no, they can't afford it. The out-of-town kids, out-of-town parents. One of them is coming as a
Here's the
tourist kid
thing,
now.
then that becomes us doing a charity for the non-residents of
Well, but it
Kenilworth.
helped our Kenilworth kids.
Listen, I
Charity
get
is
it,
free,
but,
it's not a charity.
Yeah.
well,
it
it's a
helped us
reduced
so
cost,
much.
it's a subsidized cost for non-residents, and we're saying that we have expenses going up, like payroll and all these other things. We can't afford to do that for non-residents. Our taxpayers, I pay over $20,000 to live in my house. It's gotten too out of control. We can no longer rely on only increasing fees for our residents in the name of doing it for a non-resident.
Well, that's
entity.
not so, we're not.
I
All
stand
right.
against this.
All right, so let's see how everybody else feels about it, because we can sit here till 10 o'clock tonight. So let's,
It's an assumption.
with Kristen's proposal, what are everyone else's thoughts? I know yours, I know Tony's. I don't know how anyone else on council feels about what she wants, her proposal, what she put on the
I would love
table.
nothing more than to go $90 for everyone that comes to the camp and bring it back to when we had tons
That's,
of people coming.
but that's not, I know, I understand that, but that's not on the table. Let's stick with what her proposal is.
My opinion, bring back the 3-day for everyone. And if you gotta raise fees, you gotta be across the board.
Okay,
That's my position.
Me too.
okay. Doug?
Well, we raised out-of-towners and didn't raise residents. And now we're gonna raise residents and not out-of-towners. I think that's kind of washes.
It's not even
Because
close
we're not
to the
raising
same
a
amount.
ton of money for our residents.
It's
We raised it
$5
for
a
a ton of
day.
money outside of town.
We doubled the fee for out of town.
Yes. So, I mean, I can go either way with this, because it's not that much. But then again, those people can't afford $25. I get that.
But I said it last time, and I'll say it again, I will always work with our residents if there's issues.
That has to be in the fee orders, you can't just randomly do that.
Right.
That's-
Because then that could look like favoritism.
I know, but if I get enough feedback saying to me that there's issues, I would bring it to you guys. And we would talk about it.
So I very clearly would approve a $25 raise for the residents this year, nothing for non-residents, bring back the 3-day,
See what
and
happens.
see where that goes for this year.
Why aren't we considering raising everybody? Like, I understand we did it 2 years ago. Wow, when has PSE&G ever not raised rates in a year?
So
It's
what is your
happened to
proposal to
everybody.
raise the,
So, God, why can't I
I'm
ever finish
asking,
a sentence?
I'm asking, what do you want to raise it to? How much do you want to raise it? It's $150 now.
Proportional would be desired, which would mean the non-resident would go up higher than the 25. But what if you did everybody 20? So non-resident and a resident go up 20. So we're not proportionate, because the non-resident is now seeing a less percentage increase than the resident. I cannot swallow telling our constituents that we're gonna raise their rates, but anybody coming in from a different town stays at last year's rates.
Well, they're not,
Yeah,
yes,
it's
I
fine.
can figure out that there's still $50 more for out-of-towners.
I don't wanna tell our constituents that we're looking out for anybody but them.
It's not looking
That's
out.
not-
We're gonna
that's
bring them
not-
back.
Every town differential price, for Cranford Pool, they charge me more than some.
Every town charges.
All right, so you're proposing 20% increase across the board,
$20.
$20.
Everybody's
So it would
saying
go
across the
from
board.
100, it would go from 95 to 170.
Yeah. It would have to be a fair increase for everybody who attends the camp at
And
that
what if we
point.
did 10?
Is that gonna make the money you want?
What was that? I didn't hear what you said.
What if we did 10?
Across the board?
Yeah.
10
That's
for
what
each
it has to
category,
be.
and then bring back the 3-day?
Yeah.
Chris, I think that's great.
All right.
It would get, my problem is just solely that we're gonna raise increases
Okay.
on our constituents and not the other people that use the camp.
But we
You
did
solve
that.
that problem.
85 and
So like
160.
you look
We're
like this
proposing,
savior.
but
They
I'm
were
sorry,
raised
Ms. Giordano,
twice.
you're just agreeing that you
Giordano,
would rather,
Paserno, they were raised
Councilwoman,
twice.
you're agreeing to raise resident rates.
$25.
We pay enough in taxes
I
in this
know, I
town.
pay more
And
than
I-
you.
We pay enough.
So, I get it.
Then we don't need
But
the
I
kids
look
going to
for-
camp paying
I
extra
look
money.
at- I look
All
at
right,
what would
so
better
your
the
proposal,
program.
so
And I'm not
the
grandstanding,
proposal
I'm
is
doing what's right for our
$85.
constituents.
All right, guys. $85 for residents and $160 for non-residents, and bringing back the 3 days a week, appropriating that amount, whatever that is.
Yeah.
What would the numbers be on 3 days a week then?
So it's just divide it by 5, and then multiply it by 3.
By 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what everyone, is everyone,
Yeah, sounds fair.
Yep, sounds
Yeah,
good.
it's just very amazing to me that looking out for our residents would be considered
Oh my
grandstanding.
God.
I can't get over that.
enough already, stop,
That's fine.
stop,
Hey, look,
stop.
statements were made, they're on camera.
This shouldn't even be happening here. This should
I
have
am
happened.
appalled that we would call that grandstanding. I'm using that word.
It is.
Okay.
Mayor, this was on the agenda last meeting, I pulled it off.
Okay.
Just to clarify a little bit further, I understand about the taxpayer. My hang-up with that phrasing was that it's not, yes, it's resident participation that pays for the camp, not taxpayers on a whole. Because the borough doesn't fund this camp at all.
Right.
Yeah, but the borough funds all borough operations, and you say that, but we do pay the insurance for it. If there's lighting that needs to happen at the rec center, all these things get paid for by the taxpayer. So it's not 100% funded by the fees. I would like to make that clear, especially the insurance for the camp. So there are things that the taxpayer absolutely pays for to keep that camp going. And usually something like camps, when you're doing insurance premiums, are either by payroll for your counselors or by the number of attendees. So the more campers we get, the more the borough has to pay for the insurance there. So while we're looking at this resident versus non-resident, there's a financial impact for more residents hitting our camp. Am I wrong about that, Ken? No. Well, thank you.
Does our insurance go up if there's more kids? Okay. Okay.
Or
So I think that's what we came to this conclusion, is everyone,
drafting this?
Kristen actually had it ready. I don't know, Laura, where that came from. It was you or you put that together yourself. But there was a good baseline that she had routed around. Was Laura on those emails?
Yeah, I sent it
Okay.
to her, I sent it to her and my liaison first.
Makes sense.
That's the order of it.
It looked like it captured everything except for the resident fee increase, the non-resident fee increase, and now the new numbers that we have.
Okay, so we're good?
Yeah.
okay?
Be on the next meeting.
All right. Any other workshop things to discuss? Okay,
I had some, but I guess it should be an executive,
we're going to go into that next.
kind of like, like, well, hopefully, you know.
Is that what we talked about?
I'm trying, I don't know, like I said, it may only be kind.
Well, if
They
whatever,
mentioned it one other time, but I definitely marked it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Don't go specific, but what is it, a contract?
Potential lawsuit.
Okay.
Threatening, definitely a threatening lawsuit.
It's not including the potential, it's not including an employee, correct?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And we've talked about it before, so I'm not gonna be surprised, but I just don't know if it's going to the next step, gets into litigation or a lawsuit, you know. I don't know. It won't take long, I just want to make everyone aware of it. And I think I might have written one here at the time, maybe not aware of it, so. I just want to mention it, that's all. And we delve deeper if you think it's required.
Well, if this is going to be discussed, it definitely needs to be discussed in executive session. I
Yeah.
just don't know that, can we add that on to this?
Does it need to be discussed tonight? Well, if it is, I think I would need to talk to you, just so I know what it is, so I know how to identify it, because we have to give some description of it. So,
Well, I guess if it's illegal to add it on, or if you can't add it, then it's gonna have to wait.
you know, say.
It's been dragging on and on,
Indicate it's potential litigation, I'll hear what the subject is, and then we'll see if we clarify the resolution after the fact.
Okay.
Or just not discuss it, okay? So I guess for the executive session, Mayor, we have our employment council here, we're discussing contract negotiations with health benefits, and then there's a potential litigation matter, which I'll have to define when we step out. if we
Okay.
discuss it.
Does anyone need a 5-minute recess before we go into executive session?
No, thanks.
Okay. Okay, I'd like a motion to go into executive session.
Motion, second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Giordano Paterno, seconded by Councilman Piper. All in favor?
How's everyone doing?
Okay, this time the governing body will entertain a motion to enter, oh, I did that already. I just want to add that no formal action will be taken by the governing body. We will reconvene solely to adjourn.